Welcome to the Coaches Show. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. We're here talking about tonight's District 10 4A matchup. Centennial High School traveling to Independence High School. This is our first show of 2024. We're going to start out with our girls coaches. Happy to have with us Centennial head coach Bruce Hamilton, Independence head coach Tony Hill. Gentlemen, thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it.
Coach Hill, you're in your third year at Independence High School. Coach Hamilton, the same third year at Independence High School. But Coach Hill, you have ties to both schools. Had a sectional appearance with the girls team there. I believe it played against Clarksville, at Clarksville, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
But you sort of have a love for both places.
Yeah, you know, I came into Williamson County at Centennial. Dr. Lee Webb hired me there and was blessed to be there for 4 great years. And, you know, we were able to get it to the point where, you know, we were a basket away from state tournament. You know, I relived that shot that rimmed out that would have put us in the state tournament quite regularly. But I had a lot of great memories there, a lot of great people there, a lot of great administrators there, but couldn't be happier to be at Independence. We have a great administration there and a great athletic program there, and just couldn't be happier to be at Independence.
Coach Hill, and I'll ask Coach Hamilton the same question here in just a second, but now that this is third year with this team, every year it probably feels more and more like, hey, these are the players that are kind of my players, my team. The first year's always going to be tough. They kind of remember the previous coach, and this is the Coach Hill team now. Would you agree with that? At least closer to it, in terms of knowing everyone, them knowing you.
I do. We're finally getting to the point where my freshmen when I started with, are now juniors. You know, I think the language is starting to become commonplace. You know, when I first got there, sometimes there were terminologies that I used that they didn't understand, they didn't really relate to. But we are, in fact, finally getting to where we're all on the same page, and it's been real good. You know, I'm a big preparation guy. I'm a big film guy, and I think a lot of our kids maybe weren't as in tune with the process of preparing to play and preparing to win. And, you know, scouting report, film, you know, working through things in practice, that has all started to become part of our process that we have to go through to win and compete in any game. And we've just made that part of our routine. Kids know that's expected, that they're going to watch film in and out of practice. And it is nice. We're finally kind of getting all on the same page.
Coach Hamilton, again, third year at Centennial High School. Could you say maybe the same thing for you? Number one, you had to get used to WCS. Coach Hill knew what WCS was all about. Yeah. You get here, just the way the school system's set up, not right or wrong, but probably a little different than where you were at before, so you got to get used to that. But do you feel like with each passing year, it's more, hey, they know me, I know them, know what's expected?
Sure. First of all, Coach Hill's probably one of the first people that reached out to me when I got to Centennial, and you know, he kind of knows this area, so it was good he got me plugged into some coaches around the area. But I would definitely say, from a verbiage standpoint, terminology that definitely can tell a difference. You know, we don't have to review much over stuff. We can possibly run a play that we ran last year and not spend as much time on it. And yeah, and I think skill level wise, we've gotten a little better. So, you know, I can definitely see a difference in 3 years.
Coach Hamilton, preseason's over. 14 straight district games after the break, one of which happened on Tuesday night. So here we go, ready or not. Yeah. It's going to be a pretty wild couple months here.
Yeah, it's a big one tonight. You know, I know it's big for both. You know, I think in this district, it's a tough district, so you got to scrap and claw for every win you can get, and they're hard to come by. And so you'll be grateful for any win that you can get for sure. So we'll have our hands full tonight. They're very good defensively. They play good man and got a nice team. Coach Hill does a good job.
Coach Hill, let's talk a little Independence coming into tonight, 4-7, 0-1 in district play. I looked at your schedule. You've played some pretty good competition. You've played some names that are like kind of name girl schools, honestly, in Middle Tennessee. And then also you get outside of the area, play a team from Alabama.
Right.
So that schedule, I believe, has got you ready for this gauntlet that you're getting ready to see.
Well, we really felt like in year 3, we needed to be able to compete with as good as there were. And so we scheduled this year with that in mind. We wanted to play people that were going to challenge us, win, lose, or draw. We play a really good team out of Alabama that beat us, but, it was a great experience for us. We go to a state Final Four team in Green Hill and play them on the road. Didn't win it, but it was a great experience for you. And I can go down the line. You're exactly right. We've tried to schedule in such a way to be prepared for district play. And I think it has toughened us up, and I think it has made us a little bit more resilient. And hopefully that'll pay off for us as we enter district play and really get into the battle.
Well, and you play on Tuesday night at Brentwood, a team that I think everyone says, hey, that's the favorite to win the league on the road. So even though you're 0-1, in terms of sort of where you finish in the district, you don't really lose much by losing at Brentwood, really. A lot of teams are going to lose that game.
Well, you're right, and the game was quite a bit closer than the final score indicated. We actually jumped out to a lead, and after one, it was 12-9. We jumped out at the half with a quick 3, and it was 28-20 early in the second half, and we just kind of let some of the shooters get loose late in that game. They were 12 of, I believe, 17 from 3 in that game. That was really the difference in the basketball game. And, certainly taking nothing away from Brentwood, very good ball club, one of the best I've seen this year. But, we battled and we competed, and I was really proud of our kids for doing that.
Aaliyah Fleming, Savannah C. I know Savannah's been out, but we talk about your team and how, hey, we're kind of ready to play better competition. But what's excited about them, they're only juniors. So those are girls that have been with you the whole time.
Right.
They know nothing but Coach Hill at Independence High School. So I know you got some seniors that maybe you have to talk about as well, but those two are definitely two that have been there for you and have been really good players, not only this year but last year too.
You're exactly right. My junior group has been with me. Kara Freeman, Addison McCain, I'll add those two with the two you mentioned, and Tosin Scott, another junior that's been with me now for 3 years. My seniors, Evie Nichols and Claudia Chilton, played for a really good basketball coach and Coach Mary Beth White. So, they've had 4 good years of coaching, even though I've only been there 3. It is good to finally get those kids to be juniors, and I've told those kids, look, we've said, well, we're playing young, first couple of years. Well, we're not playing young anymore. We're ready to. We hope we're ready to take the step that we need to take to play at a little higher level and be able to compete more at a championship level.
Coach Hamilton, you come in at 3-11, 0-1 in district play, like Coach Hill's team. You've played some pretty darn good teams too, which should help you going through league play.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the preseason schedule or first of the year in December. Hopefully that would help us. It was a pretty tough road. We've had some we've had some kids out here and there, but we're getting together. Hopefully at the right time. So last couple of years we've actually had a player out during the district play. So this year, having everybody about as healthy as we could ask for going in, I think that's going to help us, hopefully.
Addison Gourday, Bethany Wright, both seniors, right at 13 points a game. I know you're really glad to have Addison back. I mean, we talked about it last year. Your team sort of took its lumps, but let's face it, if you have her, and you have who you have, you can't help it. Maybe a little different outcome last year too.
Yeah, well, she can, she definitely can score, if she gets on a roll. So that helps in a league. It's, it's tough, tough to score, and good defensive league. And, So we're definitely glad to have her back for sure.
You, like Coach Hill, played one of the favorites in the league too. You play a Page team that I think most would say for sure top 3, but a lot would say top 2. So again, a tough test to start the season, but one that a lot of teams are probably going to drop that game.
Yeah, well, they're play a lot of people. They play fast. They very skilled, and I actually thought we played really well in parts of the game. Not consistent over 4 quarters, and against a good team like that, you got to be on your A game for 4 quarters for sure.
A lot of basketball to play, but Brentwood, Nowensville, Page, Ravenwood all get wins on game 1 for the district, and then Centennial, Franklin, Indy, Summit all 0-1. You played once last year, a 39-29 Independence win. It was a non-district matchup. Obviously, you've got at least 2 district matchups this year. Coach Hill, your team, 3 postseason games last year. Did that the year before too. That's got to help with experience that you got to play after the regular season.
That's the bonus of qualifying for region tournaments. You do get those extra practices, and you do get that extra game experience, and your kids get to see what a region tournament looks like. And it is huge for the development of the program. And unfortunately, we didn't win too many of those, but we did get that experience, and it was great for our young kids. And I say young kids, those kids that were freshmen and sophomores that are now sophomores and juniors, to get that experience. So again, as you said, hopefully that will pay off for us going forward.
And Coach Hamilton, your team wanting to make that next step. Hey, let's get beyond that first round game and let's play some extra games in the postseason. I say this too, and I know you guys won't say anything about this, but if you look at the boys and girls side, once we get to the region, I think there's a chance we're going to have at least 7 of the 8 in the semifinals. You're talking about 4 on the boys and 4. I know Coffee County's got a good team, girls side, really good. And I know you haven't thought about that much, but there's a real shot we get 7 or more teams in the semis if you're looking at boys and girls combined. So you make it through this and just got to get to that region tournament, Coach Hamilton.
Sure, and that's why these regular season games are so important for the seeding in district, and so where you're hoping to get yourself in a seed where you can get you a game on a neutral floor that hopefully you'll have a chance to win to qualify for region. It's a great experience for the young ladies, and that extra week it's really a whole full week of practicing, and that ties over when you're trying to build a program for sure.
Again, we're talking about tonight's 10-4A matchup, Independence and Centennial. Coach Hill, as we finish up here, what does your team need to do to get to 1-1 in league play tonight?
Well, we always talk about the 2 key things: defense, rebounding, and taking care of the basketball. And we've got to defend. I know Coach Hamilton's got a couple kids that can really score the basketball, and we've got to continue to defend. We've got to win the rebounding battle, and then we've got to limit our turnovers. We have a tendency to get hurried and make bad decisions with the basketball, and we've got to limit our turnovers. We shoot for less than 12 a ball game, and we've got to get down close to that and give ourselves opportunities to score baskets. I always tell our kids every turnover is a chance we did not get to score it that they did get. So limiting our turnovers, win the rebounding battle, and continue to defend hard is going to be the key.
Coach Hamilton, how about for your team, trying to get to 1-1 tonight in the district matchup?
Well, very similar. I think we've got to defend every possession and finish the possession defensively. I thought we gave up some offensive rebounds last night, Tuesday against Page, that hurt us. So we've got to defend, rebound, same thing, take care of the ball. They've got good guards, and they've got good young post players, and Independence had to be on the road. It's going to be a tough night, but we're going to give it our best shot.
Gentlemen, looking forward to it. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
We'll be back to talk to the boys' coaches right after this break. Welcome back to the Coaches Show. We're talking to the boys' head coaches now. Tonight's district matchup, 10-4A, Centennial at Independence. We've got Centennial head coach Jeremy Moore Independence head coach Mark Wilkins. Gentlemen, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Both teams coming off district wins on Tuesday night. Both really close, exciting games, which we knew would happen. We're going to start with Coach Moore. We'll get to those games in a second, but Coach Moore, I want to start with you. Like Coach Hill on the girls' side, ties to both schools. Obviously, you're at Centennial now, but you've got a little Independence history here in WCS.
Yeah, I had some good times. I think I was there from 2009 to maybe 11. Spent 3 years there, and actually, my assistant now played for me at Independence, Cam Miller. I coached some really good players and made some really good relationships that I still have to this day. So those are times that I cherish, and it's a great place.
Coach, talk about this because 2009, 2011, that's been a while. Talk about the differences in the district. It could be school system, but I think in particular basketball league, it's just continued to get better and better.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is we have better players. It's no disrespect to anybody that played during that time period, but you look at our district now, and every team has 2, 3, 4 players that are really high level. We just got back from a Christmas tournament in Huntsville, and I think Huntsville is the mecca of high school basketball in the southeastern part of the United States. And I would put our teams up against any of those guys. It's always had good coaches, but I think the level of basketball, and you can tell kids are playing at an earlier age, and they know how to play basketball, and coaches know how to coach it, and it makes for a really good league. And
Coach Moore, final question on that. And I think we would all agree this is the best league in Tennessee. When you're talking, first of all, we're the only 8-team league, but you're talking about quality of team from 1 down to 8, whatever that ends up being. Pretty darn good. Coach Moore, this reminds me a lot of the old 9 AAA league, which I know you obviously coached in for several years. You see the similarities there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you look at the district tournament, and our 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th place teams could finish 1 or 2 in a lot of these 5-team leagues. So it's going to make for an exciting 2 months, and a little stressful on the coach side. I think we're going to put in for a raise or something here, but if you survive it, and it's going to help us. Every night's going to be a war, and last night we made a lucky shot at the buzzer, and Paige was right there with us, and I know the same thing with Brentwood and Indy. So, it's got to help our teams. We just got to be able to survive it and persevere through some adversity.
Coach Wilkins, let's talk a little bit about your team. You've got a couple of years under your belt now in WCS, so you're used to not only teaching here but coaching here. But a big change you've kind of gone from hunter to hunted when you're talking about your team if you take year 1 versus now.
Yeah, that's because we have great players. That's what it comes down to. And that's been a fun transition for us. That first year we were kind of just playing with house money, trying to figure out how it goes in this league in Middle Tennessee basketball. And then the last year, it worked out that way. I don't know if we started off the year being the hunted, maybe a little bit, but then obviously this year it's kind of been the case of us, have some success in the postseason last year, kind of put that on our back. But I would say too, we're coming into this district season with one of the worst records in our league. There's some teams that have some really good records, been playing some really good basketball before, and I know Coach's team, his football team went late, or they'd have probably a similar record to some of them too. It's kind of been a little bit nice to share maybe some of that spotlight with some people. Some pressure comes along with that, and so now we get to hopefully go back just to playing normal basketball, being aggressive and not worrying about being always hunted.
Well, and besides guys like me bringing it up, how do you move on from 33 wins, state runner-up last year, and say, hey, fellas, that's over?
Right.
Because I'm sure it gets mentioned.
Yeah, it does, and it's taken some time in some ways, and we've relished that. But it's also, now we're 16 games in. We don't really talk about that much. We kind of just keep talking about great opponents that are coming up. The next year's team. We have so many new faces. We graduated some big pieces last year, but then the nucleus is back. But we also have a lot of new people that that didn't even dress varsity last year, that are now getting to practice with us and be a part of it and transition. So that's kind of helped us, turn the page here a little bit as we head into another big, district season here. That's kind of been our recipe.
Let's talk a little more Centennial here, Coach Moore. 8-6 entering tonight, 1-0 in league play. You talked about that buzzer beater, 46-44 win over Page. Daniel Patton with the big shot sophomore for you to win that game. Exciting way to get started. And Patton's the guy that you and I have been talking about for a couple of years.
Yeah, Daniel's a sophomore in our program. Came to us last year as a freshman, and he was still kind of trying to figure it out a little bit, but worked really hard all summer, worked really hard in the fall, and he's only going to keep progressing and getting better. But he's got a chance to be one of those players that we were talking about earlier. I think, as he matures and kind of his basketball game continues to grow, man, he's got a chance to, his ceiling is really high.
And Coach Moore, Coach Wilkins talked about this. And I know you love this. You're a guy that talks a lot about, hey, I want guys to play football. That benefits our program. The way you like to play, especially defensively, I think it matches up well that you've got those football players. Dominic Reed, Tanner Lee, obviously Tanner dealt with some injuries during football, but now he's ready to go, or at least getting there. Dominic, a Mr. Football finalist. So you've got some pretty nice pieces to go along with Daniel as well.
Yeah, I'm going to change. I don't like football players near as much when they don't come to me until the second week of December. No, I'm kidding. We got those guys. I think they came the week after Thanksgiving. So, I had about 4 weeks with a team, and then we got 8 new guys. So it's kind of like I had 2 teams there for a little bit. So we're still trying to find our way a little bit. But, Dom and Tanner, Titus, all 3 of those guys played football. They're all seniors for us. They've all played a bunch of basketball games. So, I wasn't as concerned with their rhythm. The hardest part when you do that is getting those guys to mesh with each other, because we replaced 4 seniors last year who had all played and were role guys. And now we're bringing in 3 really talented sophomores with those seniors. So just trying to mesh everybody together has been somewhat of a challenge, but, I think we're starting to turn the corner a little bit.
Well, I like what's happened. I know you guys both wanted this. There's going to be a point in the schedule. We've got some 3 games in a row kind of deals going on. You play on January 2nd, which was a little bit different. But the thought was, let's play the games after Christmas. Let's make sure the teams are really their teams by that point. And I give the girls' coaches credit because a lot of times, they're not as impacted with the fall sports. Volleyball's over. We can start basketball. Soccer's over. You guys deal with football. But the fact that we're starting games after Christmas, you talk about your team, Coach Moore, you really wouldn't have looked the same 3 weeks ago.
No. I don't know if we're doing it the right way because I think this way has got a lot of negatives behind it as well. Just having to practice New Year's Day, practicing New Year's Eve, I don't think that's ideal either. If you have an injury on the 3-day week, then your team ain't going to be the same. So there's a part of me that thinks that maybe we reevaluate that at the end of the season, But, yeah, for sure. I mean, if we had to play league games in December, we would not be the same team. But, that may be best for everybody. And if it is, that's what our district will decide to do.
Coach, let's talk. Wilkins, talk about your team, 13-3, 1-0, 65-59 win at Brentwood on Tuesday night. Jet Montgomery scores 33. Tylen Lewis makes some big plays at the end of the game. That's what you have to have and what you expect from those 2.
Yeah, it's the recipe for our success. I think that's no secret to anybody. And, thankfully, once again, we have some great players that make great plays that we don't always script for them. And that kind of got it going the other night. We had some adversity we had to fight through, got some foul trouble. A couple guys were sick. And so there were some issues just like everyone else deals with. And so I was proud of our guys on the road at Brentwood. It's a tough place to play. They got some really good players on their team too. Coach Bond does an awesome job. So it was a great one for us, but unfortunately that's just going to kind of be the way every single time. We got 14 league games, and I think every night's just going to be an all-out fight, because we're all going to know each other really well. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down still to, we call something, maybe it doesn't really work, but that kid just goes and makes a play. And so thankfully that's what happened for us Tuesday, and we definitely need it again tonight.
You lose Matthew Witt, you lose Josh Owens. Those guys were important for your team. But this team, especially ability to score, may be better. Yeah,
we were able to see that on Tuesday. Houston Hicks hit 3 threes, and Matthew Witt, that was definitely not his strong point. And so that definitely helps to stretch the floor. He's also a phenomenal passer out of the high post. And And then we replaced it with Tylen and Jed and Buck. We had 6 or 7 guys that probably deserved to start last year, kind of in a similar boat this year. But now we're able to start, Braden Buck and Corbin Walling. They kind of rotated minutes last year. Now both of them can start this year, and it's really helped us. As far as like a pure basketball standpoint, you kind of got your positions laid out, with your point guard, great shooting guard, 2 forwards and a center. And that's not necessarily what we look for every year. So we kind of get the best players on the floor. But that's how it is this year for us. And so it's allowed the chemistry to be there and for our guys to kind of know their roles pretty early on.
Talk about your schedule, Coach. You have several games against Memphis teams early. You go to the Arby's Classic, which is one of the traditional great tournaments in Tennessee. Scheduling-wise, you talk about moving on from last year. That probably helped.
Yeah, it did. I mean, you can't think too much about what could have been last year in some ways if you start thinking about who you got to play this year, And so, those 2 losses early, that one Saturday at Bartlett were good for us. I mean, I hate to say it, we'd hate to lose, but just kind of gave us a taste of if we're able to survive our district play and get into the region and maybe even get further, that's a team maybe we could see down the road. I think, going back to what Coach Moore was talking about earlier, I think Bartlett and Cordova are some of the best teams in the state. But then after that, within their district, I think that our district is just as competitive, if not better. And so I think to help us get ready for our district, we had to go play those teams. Those teams play a different style than maybe what we see every night, but the same recipe. You got to box out. You got to talk on we got to move the ball, and that's what we have to do within our district play. And so, then the Arby's Classic was great for us, play a team out in New York. And so just being able to go and play different people was really great for us in this preseason. I think it's going to help us moving forward.
Again, talking about tonight's District 10 4A matchup, Centennial at Independence, both teams coming in 1-0, along with Franklin and Nowensville, also 1-0, Brentwood, Page, Ravenwood, Summit 0-1. Obviously, a lot of basketball to play. Your teams played once last year, a 48-43 win for Independence, and this is always strange for me to say, in a non-district matchup, but now you're a district matchup, which is obviously easier to understand. Coach Moore, let's talk about your team and go backwards just a little bit. You win 20 games last year. It was an exciting year. Everybody was proud of what you did. You make a little bit earlier exit maybe in the region you wanted. Is that something that I know, is this disappointing for you and your team? No disrespect to Nowensville. They were playing great at the end of the year. Your team was going through some things that you've not really talked about, and you wouldn't use this as an excuse anyway. But does that disappointment maybe have some of those older guys in particular going, hey, we've got a little bit of unfinished business here. We want to get a little deeper.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're excited to play back in our All-Wilco League. They're way more excited about it than I am. But Tuesday night we were getting ready to play Page, and that hasn't been a district game in a couple of years, and they were geeked up about it. So sure, that loss is disappointing, but we try not to let one loss at the end of your season take away what those guys were able to accomplish. And anytime you can win 20 games in 4A basketball, I think you've had a pretty good season. And those guys kids are resilient. They move on, where I think we as coaches kind of live in it a little bit longer than what they do. But our guys work hard. They come to work every day. They work in the springtime and the summer and the fall conditioning and all that stuff. So I think that we're growing and we'll get better as the season kind of continues on here.
Coach Moore, I'm glad you said that about the players. That's something that Tate and I have talked about quite a bit too. When you're talking about being back together, it's different. I don't care what anybody says. You just said it too. When Centennial played Page before, we're playing Page, it's fine. But when you played them in a district game, it's like you raise up a little bit. And you mentioned that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's great for the community. It's a real positive for the community. And that's a good thing. I mean, Page is one of our, outside of Franklin, Page is probably our biggest rivalry.
Yep.
And if we keep the districts like they are, it'll only continue to grow, because now we play them in football a couple times, hopefully each year, and that just builds and adds. I think we as coaches, the only thing we would want is keep it the same. At some point we got to stop changing every couple of years and find something that works, and we can kind of set our schedule. I had a really hard time setting my schedule this year, and I don't know what the reason was, but we've played more Monday games and Thursday games and Saturday games than I ever have in my 21-year coaching career. So I would like to kind of get that worked out a little bit. But as far as the community and I mean, you know, Williamson County is a basketball. It's later basketball. You know, they're not coming in November and December as much. But even January, you know, when we played last Tuesday, we weren't in school yet, and there was a good crowd. I mean, our gym wasn't full, but it was pretty. You know, it was a great crowd and lively. And I think, you know, both teams were able to play well enough to hopefully get those people back out.
You talk about that Centennial Page rivalry, and people don't really know that. There's some crossover in middle school too there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of my sophomores, Carter Ezel, who's starting and real good, playing really well right now. You know, he was a Page Middle kid.
Yeah.
So he played with all those guys, and those are his, you know, that's kind of his friend group. You know, we forget once they get to high school that a lot of these kids, I mean, at Centennial, we've got Freedom kids, we've got Poplar Grove kids, so I mean, it's not like they've all, you know, it's not from, I grew up in Lincoln County. We all went to the same school. We played together since we were 6 years old. So these guys have got friend groups all over, you know,
Yeah.
so that's a fun thing for them.
Coach Wilkins, again, we talked about your team last year, 33-5, state runner-up in the year in the Murphy Center. The goal's got to be the same. Let's get there. Let's get to the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what everybody would say is their goal. You know, being able to walk out there on the floor and play in those games were memories I'll have the rest of my life. Love to do it again. Think we have a team that can do it again. But unfortunately, like we keep talking about, there's a lot of people that want to stop us from doing that, and very capable people that are, you know, can do that. So, you know, we've got our work cut out for us. You know, we know that, and every single day, you know, we would love to continue just to talk about that, but we know we can't control that. We don't know what March 15th looks like. We just know we got to beat this team on Friday. And, you know, just us being able to have that mindset every day of just let's get a little bit better. We told our guys to, no matter how this season ends, if we practice hard every day, we're going to live with the results, you know, and thankfully that's kind of taken, I think, the pressure off us to try to repeat that and just try to enjoy the process, you know, because this is too hard not to enjoy it. We can't just enjoy one sub-state win a year. You know, it's got to be more than that. Like Tuesday night, there were things that we didn't do right, but man, we celebrated. We were super excited because we knew we beat a quality team on the road in this tough district. So we're hoping we can do a lot more of that.
Now, Coach Hamilton and Coach Hill were a little bit more non-committal on this statement. I think you guys will be a little bit more committed to this. And plus, these guys don't watch the show. If you survive our district, I think we're going to have 4 teams from our district playing in the region semis. There's a good chance that's going to happen.
I'll let you answer first.
I mean, Coffee County's already beaten Owensville. So, you know, I mean, I think it's possible, sure, but I don't.
Coach Wilkins passing it on.
I don't think, you know, I don't think it's a given.
But you wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I would be surprised if our district swept.
Just because you think it's...
I just think going on the road, you know, if it was all at a neutral site and it was at one of our gyms, I think it'd be a little bit easier. But I mean, anytime you're talking about an hour and a half, hour and 45-minute road trip, something a lot of us hadn't done, I mean, we may not even be able to get buses.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
But if we do, it'll be a charter bus.
I mean, our first issue is going to be getting transportation, getting down there somewhere. But you know, I just think anytime you go on the road in that region, any region game, man, it's going to be tough. And yeah, I'm focused on trying to survive our district.
I'm going to go 4-0. I'm going to go on record saying 4-0. Of course, I have to say that.
Well,
I don't have to say that, but I am saying that.
You need it to be 4-0.
To Coach's point, the region games are so intense because they're the 2 elimination games with the quarter and the semis. I don't know how it's going to go, but I wouldn't be surprised. I'll say that just because I think there's so many good players and coaches, and not that they don't have them over there too. But what I could see on paper, he and I were talking off, this may be the best Williamson County's ever had across the board.
Pretty good.
As far as talented teams, players, the coaches are just doing our part. But, you know, that part right there, you can make an argue that from top to bottom, this is the best Williamson County's ever seen. So I think we'll fare well, but, you know, there's a lot more to do before then.
Let's talk about tonight's game. We'll finish up this way. And again, I appreciate you guys being here. I know you're busy. Coach Moore, the focus for your team tonight, trying to get to 2-0. What are a couple keys for tonight's game?
Oh, we got to be able to attack the zones. You know, I guess he learned from you back in his beach days. Going away from those zones a little bit. But, you know, we're just going to try to attack them and do what we do. And, you know, we're an assist-based team. We use the pass a lot more than we use the dribble. So we're going to continue that and, you know, do our best to keep them out of transition a little bit. And, you know, I don't think anybody can stop Jet and Tylen and those guys. I think you just make them earn their buckets, and hopefully they take real tough shots and find a way to pull a couple rebounds. I think we're still trying to figure out if we belong, and it's a great test for us to just let's use it as a measuring stick and see kind of where everything falls.
Coach Wilkins?
Yeah, I mean, you think about Centennial, they're going to play really tough, physical basketball, and so they're going to do, I think Coach is underselling it a little bit because last year, had we met in the region semis, they weren't going to be scared of us at all. They were ready to play, and I think that team carries over to this year. His seniors know our seniors really well, and there's a lot of respect. I think they've played a lot together over the years, but there's also no fear really on either side, and so it's going to be a fun one. I mean, there's kind of maybe some different styles of play that'll kind of go and clash tonight. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully, especially at home, you feel like you got to try to get those at home because on the road are going to be a little bit more difficult. So hopefully we can take care of business.
Looking forward to it, gentlemen. Thank you for being here and good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for the Coaches Show. We'll see you next time.